everyone. My name is Katie and I am part of MassDOT and MBTA's Government and Public Affairs team, and I wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight for our meeting on the Wollaston Station Improvement Project. I know a lot of you have been tracking this project very closely, and we've been here a few times in the last year to talk about it. Tonight's presentation is going to be a little different. Instead of focusing on the construction and the new station itself, we're going to be talking mostly about the service we're going to be providing to you during the 20-month closure of the station, beginning on January 2nd, and some of the work that has already started beginning. You'll be hearing from two speakers tonight. John McCormick is the project manager from the T, and we also have Brian Kane from MBTA Operations, who will be walking you through the shuttles we're providing as well as existing service in the area. We have a lot of people who would like to speak and ask questions and make comments tonight. So we are asking that if you did take a comment number, if you could limit your comments to 60 seconds or only ask one question so that we can hear from as many people as possible. And if there's time after any additional things you want to say, we can go back through that. I'd like to thank our elected officials who we've been collaborating with, in addition to a community advisory committee we put together in partnership with the Quincy City Council, who we've been working with and getting feedback on. And I also want to invite Senator Keenan's Chief of Staff, AJ Alves, to make a comment on behalf of the legislators.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Just very quickly, not to take up much time here, but wanted to let you all know the Senate and the House are actually currently still in session at this moment. They're still debating and passing votes on some items that have to be finished up today. So your state officials will be on the way and here as quickly as they can. But I'm here on behalf of Senator Keenan, and just recognizing in the back staff from Representative Bruce Ayers' office and Representative Tacky Chan's office are here as well. So even though the members can't join you just at this moment, we definitely will be taking notes and listening and getting the feedback back to them. And also quickly recognize that your councilors, your city councilors at large are here. I know I saw Councilor Noel DeBona back there, Councilor Nina Liang is here, and I think I saw Ann Mahoney, Councilor-elect, who will soon be joining the council, and school committee member Doug Guttrow was somewhere in the room as well. So some of the folks in the room. Did I miss anybody who was in the room? David McCarthy is here, and Councilor-elect for Ward 1, David McCarthy is joining us, so thank you.
Okay, and with that, I'd like to let you know about if you do need to have our presentation translated, we do have 2 interpreters in the room.
我姓鄧嘅，做翻譯㗎，講廣東話。如果你哋可以坐埋呢度。我姓鄧嘅，做翻譯㗎，講廣東話。如果你有需要，可以坐埋呢度嘅，我哋一齊聽下。Chào quý vị, tôi tên là Phương Nguyễn. Anh em quý vị nào có nhu cầu thông nghiệp kỳ sinh thì thành màn hình gần tôi và tôi sẽ thông nghiệp với quý vị.
Okay, and with that, let's get started. John McCormick.
Thank you, Katie. My name is John McCormick. I work for the MBTA, and I am a project manager for the Wollaston Improvements Project. I'd like to just say that this presentation tonight is more about minimizing the impact to the people who use Wollaston Station daily. So, again, we're going to go through our service plan, and we'll touch briefly on what Wollaston Station construction is about, and then move into the service plan. So, as you can see, we're going to talk about these following items: station improvements, what's happening, how will I get around, and you can read down what's going on now, why January, and so on and so forth. So that's the items we will be discussing in this presentation tonight. Okay, so Wollaston Station improvements. Number one thing, why we're doing the construction is a case of equitability. We want all of our stations have to be accessible to everyone. Right now, Wollaston Wollaston is the only station on the red line that is not accessible to everyone. So simply, it's about equitability, and at the same time, we're improving it, modernizing it, and making it code compliant. It's going to be beautiful when done, but again, you guys have sat through the design meetings, the June 21st meeting, where we went in depth about what the new station is going to be like. So what's happening around and how will I get around? I'm going to turn it over now to my MBTA colleague, Brian Kane. He's with Service Planning, and he'll run you through how we're going to minimize the impacts during Wollaston construction.
Thank you, John. Can you hear me? No. We'll do it this way. How about that? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Great, thank you. Oh, boy. I meant to do that. All right. So thank you folks for having me here at this beautiful Central Middle School. It's great to be in Quincy, City of Presidents. My name is Brian Kane. As John mentioned, I work in MBTA operations, doing bus and rail projects. I'm here with some colleagues from the team from bus operations as well as the Red Line, as well as the Transit Police. So thank you to my colleagues for coming. Thank you all for coming out on a cold night in November to talk about what we're going to do. So I want to be very honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you tonight. I know you've all been to public meetings where folks have stood up and said, everything's going to be great, it's going to be just like it always was. Well, I'm not going to tell you that. We're going to do our best to get everyone to where they have to go in a timely and efficient and safe manner. But I'm not going to tell you that the shuttle buses are going to exactly mimic the Red Line. These will take a little more time, so we're asking everyone to please be as patient as possible. We know people have to get to work. We know folks have to get home from work. We know folks have to get to daycare and family dinners and school. We're going to do our best to get everyone there as best and as safely as we can, but I'm not going to stand here today and tell you it's going to be just like it would be with the Red Line is operating. So what we do have planned is a couple of options. So when the Red Line is not running, which has already started, we started last Sunday at night, from 9 o'clock at night until 1 in the morning. When the Red Line is not running, we're going to run a shuttle bus between North Quincy Station and Braintree Station, along local roads here in Quincy, Braintree. The shuttle bus is going to depart North Quincy Station from the busway on Hancock Street. It's going to take a right-hand turn on Hancock Street. It's going to follow Hancock until it stops at Hancock and Woodbine Street. This stop is designed to serve folks that live to the north of Wollaston Station. It's going to be a new bus stop that we're working with the city to have created and make sure it works. It's at a traffic light. There's a crosswalk there. We think it's going to be a good stop for folks living to the north of Wollaston. It's going to continue on Hancock Street, make a right-hand turn onto Beale Street, and service a new stop at Beale and Greenwood. This stop is designed for folks that live to the east of the station on Old Colony and that part of the neighborhood, and we hope that works as well. After that, we're going to come up and at the top of Beale and Newport make a stop there. This stop is really designed for folks that live to the south of the station. So when the Red Line is shut down, which means the Red Line is not running south of North Quincy Station, the bus will then make a left-hand turn onto Newport. It will continue on to Quincy Center Station. The stop for Quincy Center Station is on Hancock Street by the Mass Bay Credit Union by Quincy College. We're creating a new bus stop there, temporary bus stop there, right by the beautiful new crosswalk that's out there. It's a very easy place to cross the street. That's going outbound. Once servicing that stop, the bus will continue on Hancock, make a right-hand turn on Temple, left on Bergen Parkway before going to Quincy Adams and Braintree stations. At those stations, the shuttle bus will use the busway that's already existing. And coming back, it'll follow basically the same route and basically the same stops. In some cases, in most cases, outside of the busways, it'll be across the street from where you are if you're on the street. So we hope that these bus locations will get folks where they have to go. We have contracted with a local bus company called Yankee Lines to provide this shuttle service. You might recognize Yankee, they run big yellow buses. They are a partner of ours now for the last few months since this past summer. They've operated shuttle bus service for us on 4 commuter rail shuttles, and they're currently operating a shuttle bus for us on the Red Line between Park Street and Kendall MIT in support of the Longfellow diversion. Kendall MIT to Park Street is the busiest origin destination pair in the MBTA. Last weekend, Yankee Lines carried 37,000 passengers for us over 2 days. So they have experience moving folks on the Red Line. They have experience moving large numbers of folks. They have experience moving folks in large numbers of buses at the same time from multiple ends of stops in urban environments. And we're confident that Yankee will be able to deliver for the people of Quincy what they've been able to do for us so far on both the Red Line and on commuter rail. So that's what we propose to have happen when the Red Line is shut down between North Quincy and Braintree. I should mention that the shuttle buses, there's no fares charged when you get on the shuttle bus at any time, and at North Quincy the fare gates are operating. So you can see the dates up here. We're not going to have this shuttle operating on holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and on Thursday in January. This will also be the case on some select weekends in January. You can see them there, January 22nd. That's going to continue through April. So the Red Line will not be operating on most weekends during that period. And in that case, since the Red Line is not running, this is the shuttle that we propose to have operating. So as John mentioned, there are times, or there certainly will be times during the project when the Red Line will continue to operate, but will not stop and service Wollaston Station. Wollaston Station will be closing on January 2nd, and at that time, in order to get folks from where they live near the station to back to the Red Line, we're proposing to run this shuttle route. It's very similar, or exactly similar to what we proposed for the other shuttle when the Red Line is not running. Buses will depart the North Quincy busway and go right on Hancock Street, make the stop at Hancock and Woodbine. Again, for folks living to the north of the station, turn right on Beale, make a stop at Beale and Greenwood for folks living to the east, and then make that stop at Beale and Newport for folks living to the north. The difference is when the Red Line is running, the buses will turn right and loop back to North Quincy Station via Newport and West Squantum. So this we propose to run starting when the Red Line would operate about 5 o'clock in the morning. We're working with our service planning team to get the number of buses. We tell the contractor how many buses to put out there. We estimate we're going to have up to 20 to 25 buses during the peak times, during the rush hours, running on this loop or some variant thereof to make sure that we can carry everybody. But I also want to mention the fact that we're using buses works for us because, you know, if we find that these things don't work out as we hope and expect them to, we can change them. I am not an expert on transportation in the city of Quincy. I don't live in the city. You folks are. You folks live here. So we're open to making changes based on what we see. We've been running this shuttle that you're seeing here since Sunday night, and we've already made a few changes. So, you know, I'm not here to tell you what's best for you. We're here to listen, and we're here to learn. And if there's reasonable suggestions, and we think it might work, we'll give it a shot, maybe, depending on what we see on the street once we start the service. So, I also wanted to take this opportunity to talk about some of the other local bus service that is provided in the neighborhood, in the Wollaston neighborhood, and invite folks that might not use the bus on a regular basis to give the MBTA buses a try. The Wollaston neighborhoods to the north and the south are served by 3 major bus routes, the 210, the 211, and the 212. These routes, as you can see here, run on the local streets from North Quincy through the Wollaston neighborhoods to Quincy Center. So if folks wanted to make the connection from the Wollaston neighborhood to Quincy Center, either to go to school, go to work, do some shopping, the local bus is a great option. Buses leave North Quincy during rush hour about once every 9 minutes, which is a very good headway, a very good interval for the T. It's higher than what we see in many communities around the area. And that's in addition to the shuttle bus that will be running to get you to North Quincy. So folks have the option to get to Quincy Center, maybe pick up a commute around there, or, like I said, get to Quincy Center if you're taking the red line headed south towards Quincy Adams or Braintree. So I'm going to stick around. I'm sure we'll be taking some comments afterward. I again want to thank you for coming out tonight. Reiterate that we're here to listen and learn, and hopefully we'll learn something tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. I'm just going to take you through the last few slides, and then we can get into questions. So why January? Why are we closing the station in January and not wait until the spring because of the winter? Well, because number one, it's a contractual requirement. The contractor has to start on January 2nd in order to meet the contractual milestone in August of 2019 to finish, substantially complete the job. The other thing is the construction duration is of length 20 months, that it would be in a winter, no matter what we're looking at. And finally, it's just the sooner we start, the sooner we'll be finished, and the sooner the Wollaston community will have a brand new station that's fully accessible to all. All right, staying informed. We have a multitude of ways to stay informed. MBTA.com is one. The Wollaston webpage is another. There's a project page for Wollaston. You can sign up for emails there. The social media of the T alerts, tweets. Also, as we get closer to when we get into 2018 and weekends where red line service between North Quincy and Braintree will be suspended, we'll have on-train announcements and plenty of signage to alert the customers of that weekend diversion or evening diversion. Station signage will be up, especially for the bus shuttles. We'll have signage out, we'll have plenty of people, excuse me, from the private bus company, Yankee, helping out, as well as T personnel from bus ops and also red line ops, helping people get to where they need to go. And the buses themselves will be clearly labeled as T shuttle buses, so that everyone knows that the Yankee buses and other buses that maybe not as bright as Yankees normal buses are part of the T shuttle service. Okay, so parking and trip planner. Parking at Wollaston Station is, we're going to have upwards of 438 parking spots that remain, and the difference between what we're taking temporarily for construction can be absorbed by the North Quincy Newport Ave parking lot. We're also working with a consultant right now to mitigate the TOD at North Quincy, working on a plan to come up with options when that parking goes away, where, excuse me, where replacement parking could be made available for when that TOD starts. Finally, here's the number to contact us. I know going home tonight you have a question, you can dial that number and we'll get to the right person and you'll get an answer back. And thanks so much for having us here, and I look forward to completing this project and opening up the brand new Wollaston station for you. Thank you.
Okay, folks, we're going to open it up to questions, comments, and I know that we have approximately 30 folks signed up that want to speak.
Closer to 40 now, right?
Closer to 40. All right. So what that means is I want to remind you to keep to the 1 minute level. Once we go through the 40 speakers, we'll open it up to those that have multiple questions or multiple comments. But in fairness to everybody that's here, we want to make sure we get everybody that initially wants to make a comment or ask a question. So we have 2 mics in the front. Questions will be answered from the podium. So 2 mics in the front will service the section here in the front. When we start to call the numbers, go to the mic that's closest to where you're sitting, and I will have a wireless mic in the back for the folks out back here that may want to ask a question as well. So with that, I'd ask speaker number 1 to come to the mic.
My question is about the safety of pedestrians who don't want to deal with the bus to get to North Quincy. How are you and the city of Quincy going to keep us from getting killed crossing West Wollaston Street at night?
So the buses were going to stop at the West Walnut Street at North Quincy, but we have refined that at night. Currently, the buses are running.
Not the buses, walkers. People who walk to North Quincy.
Right.
They don't want to deal with us.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about getting off the buses. Walking from to North Quincy, we have the city. I mean, if you're talking about the city, you'll have to the parking. I'm sorry, the sidewalks. Okay.
So, if I might chime in here, public safety is responsibility of the City of Quincy Police Department on public streets. MBTA police will also be involved in the safety of its riders on MBTA property, and will work closely with City of Quincy Police to make sure that the traveling public is well protected.
Have you talked about it so far?
Our MBTA police staff has had multiple comments and communications with the City of Quincy. So, moving along, I want to just introduce one of our colleagues from City Point Partners, Marty Nee, who will be timing the speakers. He's in the corner. When you see Marty's smiling face, you know you have to wrap things up. So, with that, I'd like to call speaker number 2 to the microphone. Number 2. Okay.
We did tell people if they didn't want to make comment. You have number 2, sir?
You walk.
No, I'm just getting ready. I'm number
Oh, he's 5. All right, well, number 3.
Here you go, sir.
So my concern is, I was actually on one of the Yankee buses last night, is people in my neighborhood, a lot of them have baby carriages, large bags, and other items. And the Yankees are very comfortable for a person that doesn't have much more than maybe a laptop. But for these other people, the Yankees is going to be a big problem. So my thought is, if possible, is that the MBTA can have either some of your regular buses that have a much wider space for people to have packages, or maybe even the shuttles that are used at the airport. So that way, if somebody does have a large baby carriage or other large packages, which I see frequently, they won't have to put them in this compartment underneath the Yankee. They'll be able to have maybe even a special bus designed, well, not designed, but specifically for that, where people have, you know, the carriage and such, and they'll have space to put it, rather than in the Yankee where there's simply no room.
So thank you for your question, sir. Thanks for coming out tonight. So, as I mentioned, Yankee has run multiple shuttles for us already since the summer, including commuter rail, where folks have many bags, including luggage from the airport. And this past couple of weekends out at Longfellow, I was out there both weekends, 3 weekends we've done this, and folks have luggage and baby strollers and all kinds of equipment with them. Yeah, folks, including bicycles, I should add. They do fit in the underneath compartment. If you're not comfortable taking that, work with the Yankee folks there. They'll help you stow it for you. They're happy to carry it and open the doors, close the doors for you. In terms of using T-buses, using perhaps passport buses, you know, we're not using T-buses for any reason. We have a lot of work going on, not just here in Quincy, but throughout the system. The Orange Line, for instance, is shut down between Ruggles and Forest Hills. We're in the Longfellow diversion. We simply don't have enough buses and enough operators to support all of our diversion work, not just going on right now, but planned for next year with our own buses. It would be much easier for me as a T employee to have our forces out there, to be very honest with you. So we're using these contractors that have a proven track record, and that we are confident that we'll be able to meet the needs of the folks getting around Quincy.
Okay, number 4. Who has number 4?
Hi. My question really has to do with the North Quincy construction that's going to start before this ends. I'm not clear, and this may have been publicized, but maybe you could review why you need to start another project at North Quincy, and how will that impact what's going on with all the buses and shuttles and everything else at the same time in Wollaston?
So Quincy TOD, North Quincy TOD will they'll construct a garage that will take away parking, but we are working to mitigate that lost parking for that temporary time period while they're under construction. So we hopefully have a plan in place before they start the construction at North Quincy.
So John, we have a consultant, right, that's looking at...
Correct, yep. It's in the works right now.
But it's not just the parking issue, it's also just, I can't imagine what the sidewalks are going to be like, what bringing up buses in the middle of construction are going to be like, et cetera. Is there a reason why one has to start and the other one's not finished yet?
It's the construction of the North Quincy TOD is in that parking lot that is behind McDonald's and the fire station. So it's in that part of the parking lot. And so the West Swanham Street head house as well as the other head house will be accessible at all times.
You haven't really answered the question.
No.
She's asking you.
Sir,
What?
Okay, I'll wait my turn, and then I'm gonna have to go to the end too, because one question per person. That's
Okay, we set the ground rules at the beginning of this meeting. Please, let's adhere to those ground rules. And one clarification, for those of you who don't know, TOD is a transit-oriented development around transportation spots like MBTA stations or commuter rail stations. So we're going to move to number 5.
Hi, my question's related. The Newport Avenue lot in North Quincy, that's the North Quincy lot, right? That's not a new lot. That's the one we always use. I just want to verify.
That's correct.
Okay, I use that lot every day. If I have a doctor's appointment at 9 in the morning and I get there at 9:30, sometimes I can't get a spot. That lot is completely full. It cannot take overflow from Wollaston lot. And also, you're going to shut it down at some point, And where are those people going to go? Because you haven't done North Quincy Center, you haven't, and now we're going to shut down Wollaston, we're going to shut down North Quincy. Quincy Adams can't take the overflow. And so I'd like to know what the plan is for people who have to park to take the T to get to work on time.
So we have the numbers, and that Newport Ave lot is not full. It doesn't go all the way down to Chipotle. There are 100 spots on a daily basis, plus or minus a few, that are available that can absorb the parking lost at Wollaston during the construction.
And to further clarify, we are not shutting down North Quincy train station. There will be some diminishment of parking, correct.
That lot is full.
Number 6,
I won't need the microphone, you can hear me just fine. So my question goes back to the lady that just had the question. On the coordination part of this, so for 37 years, the Wollaston station has not been ADA compliant. You guys have decided to make it ADA compliant at the same time that you're allowing someone, a developer, to do the North Quincy station. Fine, great for the North Quincy station, and a good idea. But the idea that you're doing the ADA compliance at the same time that you're doing the North Quincy compliant, that's getting everybody a little bit riled up. That's what so the question is, why do you have to do the ADA now and not 2 years from now when the North Quincy station's done?
Because they're slow.
I'm sorry?
Because they're slow. That's what they always do. They always phone it in.
So we've been sued by the Boston Center for Independent Living because we haven't met the ADA federal mandate to make our stations accessible. So we only have a few left to do, and this is one of the only one on the red line that is not accessible. And again, sir, it's about equability, people of all makeup to be able to use Wollaston Station.
I think they should be able to use Wollaston station, but perhaps...
They can't use it right now, sir. They haven't been able to use it since 1970.
So perhaps for those that need ADA compliance, you could shuttle them ADA-wise for the 2 years and then do the whole station. That's not equitable. That's not equitable? That's correct.
okay. We're going to move to number 7, please. Does anybody have number 7? Then we'll move to 8.
Good evening. I've been a resident of Wollaston for 20 years, and I vote in every election. I urge everyone in this room to listen carefully to what I'm going to say, because you need to vote, okay? I am strongly opposed to the complete closure of the Wollaston T station. What is needed are 2 elevators and a ramp. But my with today's engineering technology, you do not need to close the station to install 2 elevators and 1 ramp. Furthermore, from my extensive experience, shuttle buses do not work. Shuttle buses do not work. Bus drivers call out sick. Shuttle buses do not work. I have chosen to rent an apartment near Wollaston Station for nearly 20 years. The one and only reason I have chosen to rent in this neighborhood is the convenience and the quality of life provided by the Wollaston T station. Landlords who rent apartments in this neighborhood need to be alert to the fact that this proposal could lead to a mass exodus of apartment dwellers departing the neighborhood entirely. They're not going to put up with this. I vote in every election. I am most angry with our mayor. I am most angry with Senator Keenan. I am most angry with our elected Quincy officials for their shameful, irresponsible, clandestine blindsiding of this neighborhood. Okay, elected Quincy officials decide this matter, not MBTA officials. In conclusion, unless this closure is reversed, I have 3 closing words. Vote them out. Vote them out. Thank you.
Okay, I've been to many of these public meetings around this Wollaston Station closure, and we have talked at great length about the closure and the fact that it's happening on January 2nd. We are here to discuss mitigation, alternate means of transportation, and services being provided by the MBTA and its partner Yankee bus line. So your comments are welcome, but understand that this station closure has been decided upon and it is moving forward for January 2nd. Now, with that, I'd like to move to number 9.
At the summer meeting last year, this past year, it was said that there would be increased frequency of regular bus routes in the Wollaston area during the shutdown. How is that going to work?
Sir, thank you for your question again. We have no plans at this time to add extra service to local routes. I'm not sure who mentioned that.
This counteracts the comment made in the previous meeting?
I'm not familiar with the previous meeting, sir. I wasn't there, and I can't speak to who said what then.
Okay, let's move to number 10, please.
I have a question in the context of project management. There are 3 elements: time, scope, and quality. Now, in terms of time and cost, you're saying that January 2 is a must date completed on the end date that you're projecting. But are you considering the fact that when there is a snowstorm, your time will be affected? So the question is, if it's going to be affected, why not move it, increase the manpower? You're going to end up with the same cost because you're negating the time element.
So, sir, very good question, but we don't have the luxury to do our construction around the winter months. So we have built in into the contract schedule days that will be lost due to weather.
Okay, number 11, please.
I think it's the 1 minute still good. Number 10, I can get the number 10 from my friend. Okay, so my question is right now, you're saying that context that it's already factored in. How many days have you counted that there will be no operation? Because those no operation could have been used to service the people who needs the train. So if you just move the timeline, increase the people who would work to meet the same deadline, that's what project managers are for, to assess options in terms of dates, right? So you should have option 1, option 2, and not just say, we have time for the storm, because no one can predict the storm unless you're prompt and say it's fake news.
Can I just say, Rick, I don't know if everybody has a grasp of what we're doing out there, but if you could imagine, we're taking a blade to put it on top of the tracks, and we're going to slice the platform and everything above the tracks off, and we're going to rebuild it. So just imagine that's what's going on. If you were in your house, we're taking the whole house away, leaving the foundation, and then putting the house back.
Okay, number 11, please. Number 11. Number 12. Number 13.
Well, I was going to ask you another question, but first I got to say, why are you taking away the platform? It's fine. Why are you taking away the platform?
So we're taking away the platform to coordinate with all the, building a new head house. We have to put in new elevators the existing platform is structurally deficient, so we gotta get it out of there and put in new. We have 2 stairs going in addition to the stair that's there now.
Are you and the people involved with the buses aware of the traffic that you're going to encounter on Beale Street between the lights at Greenwood and Newport Avenue and the backup? Those buses aren't going to just swing up and around.
No, we have flexibility with the busing that we could have the number of buses to meet that service.
Won't move when it's all filled.
Number 14, please.
So it's, the main reason why we're doing over the station is so handicapped people can have access to the MBTA, correct? To the station, right? Wheelchairs? The buses that we're going to use to shuttle people between the stations, they still will not be able to accommodate wheelchair people, correct?
Thank you for your question, sir. All the buses that will be out here in the Wollaston shuttle are ADA compliant. They have lifts embedded in them.
Very good. And I think the main consensus with the audience here today and with myself is, as I mentioned when I came in, is the people of the community would prefer if we did this project in phases and kept the station open. That's what we would prefer. And if you folks, the MBTA, are a government body and you work for us and we're your employers, that's what we would prefer to happen. For you folks to come up and say that that's not what we're going to do, I think is outrageous. I think the community should have been kept, the community needs should have been kept priority number 1. Priority number 1. And priority number 1 with us is an easy commute into downtown Boston. This is going to be a big headache for a lot of people who are just trying to get to work every day.
Yes.
And it's going to be a complete disaster on the streets with an extra 20 buses at rush hour. So, you know, I understand it's going to happen, and I get that, but it shouldn't happen. It should have happened the correct way, and the correct way would have been a partial build-out of the station in phases, not the entire rip-out for 2
Okay,
years.
time, sir.
I'd just like to say that past experience has proven at Science Park Station, Government Center Station, and Orient Heights Station that a shutdown of the station and the construction that goes on during that shutdown makes things faster and gets it done quicker. When we do it, and the number 1 issue is also safety.
Okay, we're going to move to number 15. Who has number 15? Okay, 16.
Works, right? Can you hear me? Okay, good.
Yep. I'll get that. There, I'll
Okay, so my question is, you people are just like doing this, and as the guy said, you know, this is not what Quincy wants, but yet you're doing it anyway. So my question is, when buses in the winter are going to be, when the streets are like frozen and whatnot, how is the bus going to even deal with that? And what is your plan on that? Also, you know, this inconveniences a lot of people. And I have like 2 friends who live in Quincy, so it's going to inconvenience them as well. And, you know, like the other guy said, you could have done it in phases, but you didn't. And as I said before, you are slow to get to this point. And you people could just do this a lot earlier. It's especially for the people that are ADA compliant and all that, but yeah, you just take your sweet time, just like you did with Forest Hills when you shut down the bridge. So you pretty much do whatever you want. Okay, so that's my question. Thank you.
So I can address the question about operating in the winter. So we run 1,000 buses every day in all seasons. They generally work fairly well. It's tougher in the winter. Like I said, I'm not going to lie to you. But we're confident that Yankee will be able to meet the demands in all seasons. We've planned the bus stops so that the lifts will be able to operate on a relatively flat surface all year round, including in the winter. And we're going to make sure that Yankee remains compliant with the standards that we've set for operating in all the seasons.
Number 17, please.
Hi there. So my question's about the Yankee buses. So will there be standing allowed on the buses?
Yes.
So what's the capacity do you expect for people on a Yankee bus?
So the seating capacity so they have different type of buses, but on average the seating capacity is 50 people. It's a little bit less when there's a wheelchair there, but with standees they can carry up to 65 to 70 people depending on the size of the people.
So I'm thinking, we've all been getting on the red line at peak hours. It gets pretty cutthroat. So I'm interested to see how you're going to mitigate the actual process of everybody getting on one door of a bus.
Right.
I just anticipate during peak hours, it's going to get pretty dicey.
So we've been trying out different techniques at Park Street and Kendall for the last 3 weekends. What works very well out there and what we expect to work well here in Quincy is they load 2 or 3 buses at a time. So you don't just load one, fill it up and send it. They load multiple buses with multiple people. Their dispatchers are out there. They count down the number of people as they sort of walk towards the station, and then once you hit a certain number, you sort of hold the line and push the folks beyond that onto the next bus. And that's works pretty well at Park Street, where, again, I mentioned we have 10 times the number of people that board at Wollaston on an average day.
Do you have 10 times the amount of buses as well?
We don't have 10 times the number of buses. We have, the maximum we have out of Park Street, I believe, is 50. And we expect to have 20 out here at Wollaston. So proportionally, it's a lot more here at Wollaston.
And then will you guys have someone there on site to kind of be counting and monitoring, so if the buses seem to be getting pretty full and people are waiting a long time, that you'll be sending more?
So
or is it always going to be 20 buses?
Well, so the number of buses changes based on the time of day. Later at night, there's not the need for that many buses, and earlier in the morning. Yankee will have dispatchers at every station along the way and at all the stops. They've actually hired 2 Mandarin-speaking and English-speaking dispatchers to help work on this shuttle, which we're very happy about. Excuse me. And so, yeah, in addition to Yankee folks, we'll have an MBTA shuttle coordinator out there at all times working between all the stations, and we'll have transit police scattered throughout the version to make sure that things are going smoothly.
Okay, this time. 18, please.
No, thank
Okay, 19. Over here.
Hi, I'd like to say first that I'm glad that the station is finally going to be ADA compliant. I think that's good for all of us, not just people with mobility issues. But I do have 2 concerns that I haven't really heard addressed yet. First, I'm concerned about the number of people that are going to be out on the sidewalks at these shuttle stops, and just the safety of huge masses of people during peak hours clogging up the sidewalks, especially when it's snowing and icy. And then second, the doubling of the number of people that are going to be passing through North Quincy, again, at peak hours. Is that platform going to be able to hold all of the folks from Wollaston plus all of the folks from North Quincy?
So can I take that second part of your question first, if I might? So what we plan to do, starting in January, we try to do it every day now, is we actually add an extra red line train. We have we call a pocket track at Quincy Center. And it sits on the pocket when we have the cars available. Right now, we don't have it available every day. Our rail maintenance team has been directed to make sure it's available. At least 1 train is available every day starting in January, and we're hoping to get 2. A lot of that depends on how well we can maintain the red line fleet, which includes cars that were built in the late 1960s most days. So that car sits in the pocket track at Quincy Center, and then we monitor all of our stations via camera all the time. When we see it getting very full, what we're going to do is once a regular red line train goes by and picks up most of the passengers, we know people do get left behind, and that's not what we want to do. We'll put the RID, the extra train into service. That will come through Quincy Center, pick up who's ever left and who might have come down. It won't follow directly, it'll be a couple minutes behind, and then that train will proceed to North Quincy, where it should be able to accommodate everyone that's left waiting on the platform before going into Boston. That train will then stay in service and go run the regular route between Alewife and Braintree, picking up folks along the way. So that's the North Quincy part of your question. In terms of people on the sidewalks, we're going to need the cooperation of not just the city, but of the folks on the buses. We know, we've all stood out waiting for trains, waiting for buses. It's not pleasant in the winter when it's very cold. It's not easy, but we have 600,000 people every day that generally get on a bus or a train. Most of our stations on the rapid transit side are outside, and folks manage. We ask, that folks cooperate, be nice to each other. We know it's going to be not easy. We know it's going to be difficult. We know folks are frustrated. We're going to do the best that we can to get everybody where they're going in a timely, safe, and efficient manner. We're going to do the best we can, but we think that we have sufficient number of buses out there. We think we have a good plan out there to move everybody along. And like I said earlier, if we find that changes are necessary, we're open and willing to make those changes.
Okay, we're at number 20.
My question is to kind of add on to the whole thing you mentioned about the sidewalks and the clearing. How are you coordinating with the city of Quincy in the mayor's office? I'm kind of surprised that I know there's some councilors here, but I don't see, is there any rep from the mayor's office here? Because I'm concerned about the sidewalks and people getting to those stations and standing out there. And then not everybody works 9 to 5. Some people are nurses and things like that. They work off hours. So I'm kind of concerned about how they're going to manage that and how you're going to address that. And also, you didn't address the platform issue. North Quincy is a narrow platform. So I know you mentioned the pocket train, but I live in Wollaston, and I've had to park at North Quincy. Whenever I do that, I take the train back to Quincy Station, so I can get on the train. But that platform is really narrow, so if it gets really overcrowded, how do you manage that?
Thank you for reminding me of that. Sorry I missed that part of your question. So we hope that by adding the extra service, there won't be the giant numbers of people on the platform all the time. Station officials do monitor crowding out there, and if need be, we will hold people back from going onto the platform if it creates a safety issue. But we hope that doesn't get there. On the topic of snow clearing, so municipal sidewalks outside of key MBTA bus routes are the responsibility of the municipality. The T itself has taken on the responsibility to clear 1,000 bus stops around the region. That's a big task, but we cannot possibly clear the remaining 7,000 bus stops in the network. We rely on municipalities who own those sidewalks and the business owners that abut those sidewalks to do that. So I'll take that. We'll reach back out to the city. I'm sure there is a plan in place. I don't happen to know what that is right now, and I'm sorry about that. But I'll take that, and we'll make sure we get some updates up there for you.
21, please.
Okay, the ADA compliance I can appreciate. The closing down the station I can appreciate to get the project done quicker. It worked at Government Center. Sometimes you got to do what you got. It's not pleasant. What I don't understand is the January 2 closing date. You did note that was the last date that you had for the contract, get everything done in order, but you didn't explain why so late. The original plan, as discussed previously, was roughly, as I recall, about a November 1 closing. Now you're going to do it in January. The only time it could be worse than doing it in January would be sometime in February. This smacks to me of where's the plan? You're doing your day one
at the worst possible opportunity. Next, it backs up this project upon North Quincy. We were originally told that there was going to be a clear, discrete separation of getting this project along and get the station reopened before TOD work was going to begin at North Quincy. Now we're talking overlap. That's going to be a nightmare. I'd appreciate explanation on Jam 2, but more importantly, what hasn't been addressed in big ways, except tonight, and I didn't catch the dates. People need to appreciate, we're going to have those 9 o'clock closings for a long time, and that's going to affect commuters to Wollaston, Quincy, Quincy Adams, and Braintree. That's going to be an awful lot of people who are going to be disrupted. And I appreciate you explaining, again, how long that period's going to go, because that hasn't been addressed. This meeting is sort of for Wollaston people, but that's another 100,000 people down the train. Thank you.
So, your last issue with the, excuse me.
Restate
Yeah, so the long-term closure, January 2nd, I'll start at the beginning. It's January 2nd, we did say we were gonna close the station in the fall. The fall goes to December 1st, December 21st, you know, we're 2 weeks late. Please. And so we had NTP June 30th, and the contract duration is going to give us winter work no matter when we start. And I'm sorry, could you, the last part of your question?
The fall start date was not as late, it was not presented as late. Maybe you weren't at that meeting. The expectation was roughly November 1. The second part, I'd appreciate a better detailing of the late night closure, 9 o'clock closures, which isn't that late for a lot of people coming home. What time frame that's going to be, because that's going to affect people at Wollaston, Quincy Center, Quincy Adams, and Braintree, 5 nights a week, and probably a lot of weekends for a chunk of time. And that really hasn't been played up in a big way.
So it's going to be, there's going to be 44 weeks of that 9 p.m. to end of revenue service, bus shuttle in place for the contract. Right now, we're working through about 14 weeks of that. So during the station closure, during approved times, we will have additional 9 p.m. shuttles, as well as we have 18 weekends of diversions per the contract to get the job done. So, to answer your question.
Okay, 22, please.
Did you say 44 weeks of 5
Sir.
I did say 44 weeks.
We just want to know whether there will be room in the new, station. And how about those local bus 201, 211, 212, 217? Will they get more buses?
Okay, yes on the bathroom, and I'll let Brian talk about the buses.
There will not be extra local bus service at it.
And according to this map, about the Braintree, Quincy, and all these stations will be closed at the time. With the bus, with the train, from Boston, stop on Quincy, and they don't stop at Wollaston, and they just go through, but they will stop in Quincy Center.
So from 9 o'clock at night until roughly 1 o'clock in the morning, some days through Thursdays, Red Line service will stop at North Quincy, and shuttle buses will run Wollaston, Quincy Center, Quincy Adams, and Braintree.
All right. So actually, there's no station open beyond North Quincy.
The stations, with the exception of Wollaston, the stations themselves will remain open for folks to access other services, the AFC machines, but there will not be a Red Line train you can board at those stations.
Okay, 23, please. Number 23. All right, 24. Thought I saw 24 back here.
So for the last month and a half or so, I've been getting the shuttle buses from between Park Street and Kendall, and to your credit, it's worked pretty well. I know it hasn't been a rush hour, but it makes me at least hopeful that things might not be horrible. My question is in relation to bicycles. There's a large cage at Wollaston that during the nice warm months it's pretty full with bicycles. What is the plan to expand capacity at Quincy Centre and North Quincy to take space for these extra bikes?
Thank you, sir. So we're taking the bike cage at Wollaston, and we're going to try to squeeze that in at North Quincy. But until we do that, once the station shuts down, we're going to put more bike racks at North Quincy. At Quincy Center, we have to look to see what kind of work zone is set up and where is the best place where we can add bike racks so people can ride their bikes to the stations also.
Okay, 25.
Hello. Wait, I'm not tall enough for this. All right. Hello. So I'm just curious, at least with respect to the shuttle. I mean, I take the red line to the commuter rail for work, so basically, I really need to get to places on time, because if I miss my commuter rail, then I'm waiting an hour and a half for the next one, and then I have to call my boss and explain, I'm sorry, the red line was delayed, so then now I have to worry about a shuttle and then the red line. So how is the T, or how are the shuttle employees, how are they going to keep us informed with accurate updates of shuttle availability?
So the shuttle buses do not have real-time information like regular T buses do. We're hoping that by running enough of them, you'll sort of see them coming. Do you get on at South Station and take a train?
I get on at Wollaston and then I go to South Station, and yeah, and there have been times even with the red line, and that's our ideal right now, right? To even just have the red line. That's all. We already know that's not perfect, and you all have been upfront in saying, oh yeah, I mean we can only mimic it so much. We're not going to lie to you. Well, okay, then that puts me in even more of a predicament, because now I have to make sure I'm getting accurate updates about the shuttle, and then on top of that, I need to have accurate hopefully then, of course, those updates will be accurate about the red line. But in any case, I need a good gauge. If I am to get to work on time, to be held responsible there, and just so that my employer is not like, oh, she keeps coming late. She must not be responsible.
So I don't have a great answer for you. Again, I'm sorry. All I can suggest is that you add extra time, 15 to 20 minutes perhaps, until you figure out the schedule that works best for you. That's not a great answer, I know, but it's the best I can give you.
Well, then I would encourage you all, because this is a place for us to give recommendations, I would encourage you all to find a way to give us all accurate updates, because I am sure I'm not the only person who needs to make a transfer. I'm sure I'm not the only person who runs to the commuter rail. So it is, if you organize this, it is your responsibility to find a way for us to be reliable in our jobs and to be efficient for the work that we are charged to do.
That's a great recommendation.
Okay, number 26. 26. How about 27? No, Mr. Guthrow left. 28. 29.
Thank you. I'm a property owner on Greenwood Avenue, and I was curious as to time the construction or demolition is going to start, and what is the method that you're going to use for the demolition of the station?
So I can't speak to the exact method. We're waiting on the plan to come in, but it's going to be heavy equipment, probably with a pulverizer and claws to break the station down.
You're not doing any blasting, are you?
No, ma'am, no blasting.
Number 30. Anybody with 30?
So we keep talking about mitigation and traffic mitigation. And the city of Quincy, so in Salem, when you did this up in Salem on the North Shore, the mayor of Salem came out about 60 days prior to actually having to use the shuttles and the different things that they were doing for the traffic that was happening within the city of Salem. And Salem was actually not as affected as Beverly and further up. And they actually had a traffic plan. They actually brought in the sheriff's departments to help cross people along that way. And that was only for 2 months, I believe, that it was happening up there. In the city of Quincy, we are less than 6 weeks out, and you're telling me that we don't have a traffic mitigation and there's nobody from the mayor's office here. And I know for a fact that we haven't dealt with parking or city council issues, because I'm actually the new city councilor that just got elected. And this was one of the things I was very concerned about. So, and we don't have snow removal on those sidewalks, and you're 6 weeks out. And you're the MBTA putting people in this situation, because we're going to be the ones doing this, because you're coming into our city to do that. I would think that would have been part of your project plan, to at least have a traffic plan from the city of Quincy to be able to deal with this in the shuttles that you're going to be shooting people around in. Because you're not going to be able to be effective, you're not going to be successful, and it's your plan that you're putting into place. It's your shuttle buses you're putting on the streets of Quincy. And you don't have a plan, as far as I can tell, from the mayor's office in regards to how we're going to be able to handle that. And you talk about mitigation, but that's not mitigation. That's just having an excuse saying that the city of Quincy didn't bring it to the table. It's your project plan. The other thing is that the other towns and the other cities had concessions where we have a commuter rail in Quincy Center, where we could be using the commuter rail to put people in the city of Quincy that buy MBTA passes on the commuter rail to get them in town faster, so that we don't have to have them standing on the North Quincy train station. Because as you talked about those pocket trains that you have scheduled for people. The other thing that you're not talking about is the switching problems that we have in the MBTA. So I know that's a couple of things that I'm asking, but these are all huge problems that we're all going to be facing. And I do take the MBTA every single day, and I can tell you that I monitor it often to see how these things are happening. And pretty much at least once a week, usually on Mondays, you have switching problems. And the traffic is your biggest problem, and it's your plan. So your plan to come into Quincy to take these train stations down and to develop in North Quincy, it's your plan. You need to work with the city. And if the city's not giving you a plan back, then you can't start the project, because you're not going to be successful. And you're putting all the people who are using the MBTA in jeopardy for everything they're doing, and your project as well. So that's my question.
So congratulations on your election. Clearly the people of Quincy are well represented. Our chief operating officer has said publicly, and I will echo this, that the new red and orange line trains can't get here fast enough. That's not going to help on this project, I know, but that is the long-term solution to the switch problem you mentioned, and to the car question you mentioned. So last Monday at our control board meeting, Senator Keenan came and actually brought up the mitigation question. And the secretary, and I cannot speak for the secretary, took that and pledged to work with him to figure that out. Now, I'm not privy to the secretary's deliberations, so I can't speak to that, but can I find you after and
We're 6 weeks out. We're 6 weeks out, and last Monday, you had a question about mitigation. That question should have been the first thing brought up as soon as this was brought to the city of Quincy, so that we could start talking about the issues that we have for the people who live here. No, it's Mahoney.
Rick? Okay, I think we're on number 31.
Hi, thank you for coming, and I just want to express my disappointment at your decision not to improve and enhance the neighborhood bus services during this period. I think that's what really needs to happen. And having people gather at a station that's not in service is just not an efficient way to do things. What people want to do is get on a bus in the neighborhood and go to the train station that's open, whether that's North Quincy or Quincy Center. And you mentioned something about trains, or how frequently the bus runs out of North Quincy. In the evening, the 212 only runs once an hour, and that's just not enough. So, you know, I wrote you about this. I wrote after the June meeting, I wrote and I explained this. I said, more efficient and effective plan would increase customer access to MBTA stations that are in operations so that customers do not need to gather at a closed station. To increase access to other stations, bus services should be added during the project period in order to better connect the Wollaston Beach, Wollaston Hill, and Montclair neighborhoods with the MBTA stations in North Quincy and Quincy Center. So I got a letter back the next day, or email back from your liaison person. And liaison person said, we have looked into it and we will be taking action to include 211 and 212 service increases. So I was pleased to hear that today you're telling me it's not happening. So that's disappointing to me. And my question then is, why aren't you doing that? And in the future, how will you decide whether or not to increase them? Thank you.
So I'm sorry you were given inaccurate information. I told everyone here I wasn't going to lie to you. I'm not going to. You got wrong information. I'm sorry about that. I don't know who sent you that email. I'll talk to you after we'll figure it out. We are confident that the number of buses for the shuttle that we have out there will be sufficient to move people around. And for that reason, we do not feel that we have to add extra local bus service. The fact of the matter is, we don't actually have enough buses now to operate all the service that we have to operate in the region. We don't have extra buses to add at rush hour out here. We wish we did. We need an additional several hundred buses throughout the region. We just don't have them, sir. But I'll talk to you after, and I'll get to the bottom of that, and I do sincerely apologize for that inaccuracy.
Okay, 32, please. Someone have number 32? Then we'll move to 33.
Bingo.
33? Okay, 34. Oh, 34? No? Okay, 35.
Raise your hand, Frank.
Right?
Can I take it 35?
You can have 35.
35.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Hi. There was an article in the Ledger a couple of weeks ago that said that there'll be 18 weeks scattered throughout the next 2 years when buses completely replace Red Line trains for the 5 stations south of the Neponset River. Is there any time, I'm wondering, that the 5 stations will be closed at the same time? Is that
So that's 18 weekend diversions. That's on the weekends that the Red Line will not be running from North Quincy to Braintree. So people, just as it is now at night, at 9 p.m. tonight, people will get off at North Quincy and take a bus that will make all stops in between North Quincy and Braintree.
Oh, okay, so it's only on weekends?
It's only 18 weekends,
Oh, okay,
yes.
because it wasn't clear in this article.
Just weekends.
Oh, okay. Phew, okay.
Yes, other departments and contracts, we call it piggybacking. They'll get out on, like at Quincy Adams or Braintree, any maintenance issues that they can use the access for will be done so that we could get the system to a state of good repair faster.
Number 36.
My question is sort of like a continue of the other lady regarding about the frequency of the bus. And since you said you do not have a clear time form for that schedule on that, and you also said you believe you have enough bus to take people around. So what is your plan and what you believe how it looks like? You believe is about enough for 5 minutes for bus 1 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes. We all need a specific time to work out our schedule.
Sure. So the buses will be dispatched from North Quincy at the same intervals that the Red Line currently runs. So the Red Line is scheduled to run every 6 minutes.
Okay.
Buses will leave every 6 minutes. We're also going to start buses at Braintree when the Red Line is shut down and operate them on the same frequency that the Red Line currently operates. So over the course of the day, the red line is scheduled to have different frequencies based on the time of day. That's the same, that buses will be dispatched on the same frequency.
Okay, is that under this kind of schedule can we rely on it? Because even though the train running on the tracks is not reliable all the time, but then we're talking about bus, do you have an extra bus to make sure you're able to follow your plan?
Absolutely. So the number of buses we have is well over what we would actually need for the ridership, and that's to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind. And if need be, we can send empty buses to stations. If another bus is stuck somewhere, we'll have them go around a different way to get there and make sure that people can get moved.
Okay. The next question is, on calling what I see right now in the Wollaston station, and they only picking up the ground and working on it. That is concerning about, you're talking about 20 months, 22 months, 20 months for what the project will be. Is that possible we will do some evaluation about that long period of time? Because I can see the project right now, they're digging up and nobody doing anything for weeks or so. Is this whole project like that? While we, hush taking the bus and the whole project is nobody walking in there a week or two. Those kind of things are adding up for a whole entire period of the operation.
So, starting this week, Newport Ave, you noticed a lane shift and some concrete barriers put in. That's to allow the contractor to do utility work on water lines that are along Newport Ave and that run beneath the station. And they're setting up a work zone to do not only water lines, but to locate existing utilities that may interfere with the foundation of what we're putting the new entrance at Newport Ave.
Okay, we have to move on to next comment, so we want to give everybody a chance to speak here. So we're going to move to number 37.
So I have a couple of questions concerning the shuttle bus arrangements. What have you decided was the time it would take from Wollaston to North Quincy during rush hour? How long do you estimate that ride to be on a bus?
It will be longer than the red line currently takes.
I didn't ask that, Hal. I'm sure you studied this by now. You're planning it very well. How long does it take on the average during rush hour?
15 to 20 minutes extra.
Fine. How long does it take to load a bus?
It takes longer to load a coach bus than a transit bus.
I didn't ask that. How long does it take to load that bus?
It depends, man. It depends on the number of people getting on.
It's going to be full, and let's say without handicapped or strollers, how long does it take to fill the bus?
It takes between 90 seconds and 3 minutes.
So it's 3 minutes, and to empty about the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how have you calculated that there will be enough buses? And let's assume the ride back is about the same, so it could be a half hour from a bus arriving at Wollaston to returning at Wollaston. How have you calculated how many buses we'll need?
We take the ridership on an average weekday broken down by time interval.
Yeah, but we know it'll be packed. Yeah.
And we add extra buses to meet which we believe will be the demand.
So how many buses will be at between 6:30 and 8:30? How many buses will be in play?
During the peak, we expect to have 20 buses out there.
And I have one other question, Ann Meyerson. I have one other question concerning the bus stops. Thank you for sharing the rules. We're thrilled. If all the buses line up at the Hancock Woodbine, those of us who would be waiting on the Newport side, those buses will all be filled. Those of us who waited for shuttle buses during the blizzard know that they were always full when they got to us. How are we going to make sure that people on the next two stations have available buses?
Some buses will be started in service at Beale Street and at Newport Street.
Thank you.
Okay, number 39, please. Oh, 38, my bad.
38.
It seems I am one of the few people in favor of making the station ADA compliant. Sure, closing the station for 2 years is a hardship for many people. The end result will be worth it. I had to use a cane for most of the spring. I like to travel and sometimes find myself on the red line with a rolling suitcase. Commuting through Wollaston under these circumstances is not easy, as I'm sure many of you know. At least once a week, I encounter someone on the platform who could benefit from an elevator and is often surprised not to find one at our station. I look forward to not having these kinds of commuting problems in the future. Thank you for making Wollaston Station ADA compliant. I ask for the rest of you to be patient while the station improvements happen. You'll benefit as much as those of us with special needs will.
Ask our bosses to
Number 39, please. 39? Frank, would you like 39?
I spoke at the last one of these things. I'm in that community action committee for this program. Just today on a normal course, it was brutal getting here on the train, and I got to my car. But I was wondering, these buses have 50 people in them, and then they get unloaded in North Quincy. Regardless of all the traffic, once they get onto the platform can hold probably 20 people at the entrance. So how are you going to get down from 50 people trying to get on a platform that will hold 20? There's all kinds of protection, storm protection barriers that block off access. Someone's going to drop into the pit. And also, I mean, it doesn't do it, but they're building, in addition, they're building a 180-room hotel right across from where you're going to drop off the buses. And, you know, in the spring, they're going to build over the parking lot. So I'm not quite sure, you know, like the councilor-elect said, why you don't have a plan right now, you know, with all these factors in place, where you can just list off so we can avoid a meeting like this, you know, like myself rambling at the moment. You know, I mean, I could talk probably an hour of the problems, and it doesn't seem like you were very much prepared other than being honest. You know, you're not going to lie to us, but you really don't have the answers other than 20 buses an hour.
So I take from your question, Frank, that the TOD, there's too much going on at the same time, but to mitigate the TOD, the transportation-oriented development at North Quincy, we do have a consultant looking at all areas of additional parking to make up replacement parking for what's gone during that time.
But besides all that, the physical platform, the entrance of it is all right for people getting trampled, handicapped or not handicapped. There just isn't enough space when you get through the whatever you call it, the entrance.
Are you referring to North Quincy Station?
North Quincy.
So just the access down to the platform?
Down to the platform, there isn't enough room for the 50 people that just got off the crowded bus, you know, with their strollers and all that stuff, boxes and such. You know, they just can't get onto that entrance. I don't know. Maybe you guys should take
Brian, you want to take a crack at that?
So, thank you for your question. And so, thousands of people that use North Quincy Station every day. The platform accommodates folks most of the time. We get to have a trampoline there, and I hope we never do. If we find that the station is unsafe due to crowds, we will take action to make sure that folks are held and do not go down onto the platform. We certainly do not want anyone ever to fall into the pit. That's the last thing we want. And so we will actively monitor the station to make sure that the crowds...
tonight.
I'm sorry?
I got knocked around, not that it takes a lot to knock me around, but I keep getting knocked around a bit, getting on and off the train and trying to get into the escalator area or whatever. And this morning, there's not enough room for 50 people or 2 buses, 100 people to get onto that platform at that parking lot in North Quincy.
Okay, Frank, we're gonna move on. Number 40? 40? Thought I heard it.
Okay, took 42.
Hi, I have a few short questions. One is, if now and the previous community meeting weren't the time to discuss whether to shut the station down or to do it in phases, when was the time to post comments or questions about that?
We did have design meetings as we progressed through different stages of the design, and there was a lot of back and forth. It was talking about doing temporary platforms, but we just don't have the real estate to do that safely out there.
Did you post any announcements about that on the T?
No, but we did have public meetings at the 30%, 60% stage.
Are meetings public? Are meetings public if the public doesn't know about them?
People knew about them because they were there.
I didn't know about them. Okay, my second question. Why is it unsafe to demolish the Wollaston roof while it's somehow safe to demolish the Quincy Center garage, keeping the Quincy Center station open?
So the Quincy Center garage is going to be demolished, but there's going to be 2 levels that remain, and then there's going to be cribbing that ties back to the structure to protect from falling debris. And the demo that happens above the tracks, and especially that helical ramp on the north side, that's going to be done during weekend shutdowns. And Wollaston, basically, we're taking the whole station away from the track level above and rebuilding it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 41.
Can you scroll that slide to show the bus route between North Quincy and Wollaston, please? After the public design meetings, especially this past June, the original route that was proposed was going down Hancock, banging on the right on Woodbine, then banging on the left on Greenwood, and having the buses load on Greenwood, with the promise that temporary bus shelters would be installed to help keep us all dry during our wonderful New England winters and thunderstorms. Based on this new route, I don't see any good locations to put bus shelters. Are those bus shelters that were promised by your predecessor project manager, are they going to be installed?
Yes, they are.
And that makes when?
By January 2nd. So the bus shelters that were going on Greenwood will go at Beale and Greenwood. And the bus shelters on Newport there's 2 bus shelters that will go at Newport across from Brook.
How many do they accommodate?
Woodbine's an existing bus stop. We are looking at putting a bus shelter there, but it's very tight sidewalk there.
No kidding.
Okay, we're gonna move to 42.
I think that might be it for.
That's it?
We're at 41.
Here you are.
There's been a lot of building in Marina Bay, and there's a temporary little ferry there, but they have shuttle buses that go to the North Quincy train station, and they're still building another apartment complex across from the one that's there, and I think that's supposed to be starting to fill up. Have you accommodated for all the growth in North Quincy that are going to be going to North Quincy with your plan, all the building that you're building in North Quincy for apartments? Have you accommodated for that?
So our consultant who is working on that parking mitigation for the North Quincy TOD is looking at all the development in Quincy and specifically just to replace the parking taken away by the TOD on the MBTA property. But we are aware that Quincy is extremely, there's development everywhere.
They've already got one apartment building, they're already full of them today, and that's another one going up, so. And Ferris is down in Richmond, and they have shuttle buses, so they're gonna have their shuttle buses coming in too.
One of the potential mitigations is to use the Squantum Point Park with a shuttle bus to shuttle people back and forth to North Quincy. Not Marina Bay, but commuters who normally park at North Quincy and are displaced by the TOD can go. This is one option of many that we're looking at, but they could go to Swan Point Park and park there and take a shuttle to North Quincy.
You can see the frustration because you guys are still developing the plan, and it's, it's the middle of November, and January 2nd is the day, a lot of us are going, heading to work and whatever. So the fact that it's not well thought of, and not one representative from the city of Quincy is here to kind of work with you guys on this, that's really concerning to the residents of Quincy. I take the train every day, and I get on at Wollaston.
We are basically, I myself are communicating with the city of Quincy pretty much on a daily basis on the project.
They actually would communicate with the residents of Quincy also. A process for that. They should have been here tonight.
Okay. Is there anybody that hasn't spoken that would like to make a comment?
Thank you. Just a couple of questions were answered tonight. I just want to ask a couple other questions that weren't. And piggyback a little bit on the North Quincy's platform. That's already filled up now, and putting more people on that platform is going to be difficult going into the winter season with snow, sleet, rain, and weather conditions. Did you consider at all sending some shuttles into JFK that will maybe mitigate some BC High students, UMass Boston students, other students that can go straight to JFK? Less people will be going on the North Quincy T station and through some type of shuttle service that way. You could send it out of Wollaston, you could send it out of North Quincy. There's a little bit more of a proactive approach. I wouldn't say wait till January 2nd. I'd say start that right away, and if you don't need the shuttle service, take it away. This could be really difficult, especially if the weather conditions get real bad out there starting January 2nd. We already have snow out there. That platform is not going to be able to maintain everybody. I've already seen it packed, and the doors are opening now, and people can't get on. So we as a city have to have a proactive approach. You said in the beginning of your meeting earlier tonight that you're not from here. A lot of these people that are speaking tonight are riders that take the T, and they know. And these are voices that are being said to you because they're taking the T now. So I think, and another thing is to piggyback on the parking. I didn't hear anybody talk about parking. And if you're going to allow some type of discounted rate or free parking for some of these riders that want to go to North Quincy or Wollaston and park and go on to the T, did you consider anything about allowing some of these people that want to drive into these stations and get a discounted rate? Those are two questions. Thank you.
So it's a great idea about a shuttle to JFK. I'm going to take that and we're going to look at it tomorrow, and if it makes sense, we'll implement it. The beauty of having buses is you can send them anywhere. So thank you for that. We didn't think of that.
And on top of that, what about the parking?
So parking, we're not looking at reducing the rates at this point.
Thank you. Good evening. I just want to start by thanking everyone that took the time to come out tonight. We had nearly double this amount of people last time. We were here until about 10 o'clock with people giving comments, giving suggestions, asking you guys about what you're currently doing, and then providing insight on how you can do it better. Like my colleague said here, you said at the beginning of this, you're not from here. We all are, so providing that feedback is important. And you even said you need this kind of feedback to do this better as you're moving forward. I just want to ask you, from the last meetings that we've had, can you name one suggestion that you've taken into consideration and have acted upon?
So I wasn't at the last meeting, so I can't answer that, but I'll ask John to.
Sure, and John, you were here at the last meeting. If you could name one piece of suggestion that a resident was able to provide at the last meeting that you have now taken into consideration, that'd be great.
To be honest with you, I can't. At that point, we were already basically through with advertisement, so we were going into construction. NTP followed soon thereafter. So it was basically it wasn't the time to take suggestions because the plan was already in place.
Are you fucking kidding?
We're going to have courtesy in this meeting, otherwise we won't have a meeting, okay? That won't be allowed.
So, ma'am, I wasn't at the meeting, but I can tell you since Sunday, when we started the shuttle, we have made several changes. We've tried different bus stops at different locations to see what works, what we think works best for the number of folks out there. We've actually moved the bus stops around every night until to get what you have here, which we think is the best configuration out there. I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, and I mentioned to the gentleman, that we are open to trying new configurations and new things that make the most sense for the people of Quincy. As I've said, I'm not from here, I'm not an expert on Quincy transportation, but we are open and willing to try different things if it makes the most sense for the people here.
And I appreciate you saying that. That's what was said at the last meeting. I get where you are in your construction phase, but at the last meeting, that's what was said was, we're here to listen to your suggestions, listen to your insight, because you take this every single day, and we will make sure to take that into consideration when we start moving forward with this. One of those things was running a trial run. This last summer, as I was talking to everyone across the city, every single person I talked to, I told me, you guys told me, you're going to be doing trial runs of these buses, and not just at 9 o'clock at night, not just on the weekends, but during peak hours throughout the week, so you can take a look and see, well, when does this shuttle service work and when does it not work? And to hear and to find out that you guys, have acquired a bus company, but still have not yet to do the trial runs, is very concerning to me, because I don't know how you're going to get around that corner on Beale in Newport at 9 o'clock in the morning during rush hour when all of that traffic is getting backed up from the Ponset. So I would like to hear either tomorrow or at your next meeting when you plan on doing those trial runs. My second comment is actually not a question, but it's a comment, and I want to make this very clear. You have said, multiple people in this room, they're not being lied to, they're not reiterating lies to you. It was spoken, and it was said and stated that you will run additional buses for the bus lines in that area. And I remember you distinctly saying it, because I take the 211, and I remember thinking to myself, that's great, I don't have to wait 30 minutes when I miss a bus, because they're going to be running them more frequently. I have been nothing but positive in trying to work with you guys and trying to communicate concerns that residents have brought to us, and I'm incredibly disappointed. Incredibly disappointed. I feel lied to because you guys have said this, and now you're calling residents, not liars, but you're saying that they've been lied to. It's absolutely not true. You said you'd run additional bus lines. You're now telling us that you're not. Between the two of you, you guys you wouldn't make this up. And that's just concerning as well, because now you're here soliciting our feedback. And you did that last time, and now you're telling us, well, that actually wasn't true. So who's to say a month from now we come back, give you more feedback, and you say, well, that wasn't true either.
Exactly.
I'm very disappointed. I've been doing nothing to try to work with you guys, and I really would like an answer, whether it's tonight or after this meeting, to find out where this communication happened on the MBTA's end, because, right, guys, we've been doing nothing but communicating with you guys, and to have this happen tonight, when we've been told this is going to happen, suddenly it's false. It's incredibly disappointing and very concerning. So I appreciate the answers.
Let me handle that. And yes, Councilor, you are correct that in previous meetings we did state that we would have additional existing bus service expanded. The fact of the matter is there aren't enough buses in the system in order for us to do that. However, we do have the Yankee bus shuttles as a supplement to the already robust existing bus service here in the city of Quincy. We will monitor those routes, and in the event that they are overcrowded and can't support additional capacity, we will put into place additional measures to deal with the overcrowding. That's the honest answer to the issue about expanded service on existing bus lines. Now, with respect to your concerns about what we've put in place since the previous meeting in terms of suggestions from the community, we have had many trial runs of the Yankee bus service, and we will have additional trial runs with respect to the January 2nd start of the peak service. That will be done. We have also put into place a community advisory committee. One of the things we heard loud and clear in the previous meetings was people wanted more participation, more communication. That has been done. We have hired on an external team to help with outreach and communication. City Point Partners, there are feet on the ground to flyer the stations when we get even closer to the closure date, to work with local businesses to make sure they are updated in terms of what's going on, to make sure that communications are sent out on a regular basis so that there is a more transparent process. It's not a perfect world, but we have listened and we have made some changes. And I do apologize for the fact that we cannot fulfill that previous commitment that we made on expanded bus service. But believe me when I tell you, we will monitor the situation and put into place measures if we find that those existing routes are being overutilized and can't meet the capacity.
I appreciate you clarifying that, because that's very different than, that was never said. Those are two very different things.
It is.
I would appreciate, again, that if we're all going to meet and get through this together, again, you've been very open to saying, we want your feedback, we want to know how to do this better. As we work this out and things don't work, we will change. You've been very amenable to that. But then again, to come in here and hear, well, we haven't done that, and actually we didn't say that. You have to understand why that's very concerning. If you want our feedback, we'd be more than happy to give it. Clearly, folks want to give feedback on how to make this better. We need proof that this is going to be actually seen through, that it's not just, yes, we're going to do this, yes, we're going to do that. We need to actually see it happening. It's great that you're doing trial runs. I haven't seen them. I don't know what the results are. I don't know when you're doing them. If you could let us know by way of posting it on the website or letting commuters know, hey, we're doing trial runs right now. Give us your feedback on how they run. Which is something you also said you do, is solicit feedback on those trial runs.
These trial runs are not being done with riders on board. They're being done with MBTA bus operations personnel and the folks that will be actually driving the buses from Yankee Bus Lines. That's what we meant when we said trial runs, to make sure that the routes are navigable and to make sure that we can meet the headways that we've established to mirror the red line headways. So.
Okay, no, I think I just want to make sure that here we're giving our time, we're giving our time, that it was being heard and not just taken down on a computer and go somewhere and discarded, but it's actually being followed through. So I would just appreciate that. Any commentary that's here tonight, at your next meeting, you can actually point to and list out. You guys all did this at the last meeting. This is what we've done to implement.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Rick, could I just, one suggestion that did come out of that meeting was from the trial runs, you seen the Woodbine turn and the Greenwood bus stop go away because we found out that the buses indeed couldn't make those tight turns right on Woodbine. So that's why we have this changed bus routing because of those trial runs. So that is one suggestion. And I believe we always said it was, the bus routing was going to be flexible. Whatever works best, we will do.
Okay, we're going to have opportunity for one or two more questions, and I'd like to offer those who have not yet spoken an opportunity here. So.
Hi, I have two questions. One is, so from that diagram, it looks like there won't be a bus shuttle going from Wollaston to Quincy Center. Is that correct? And then the other, so that means somebody going from Quincy Center to Wollaston has to go to North Quincy and then take the bus back to Wollaston? That was one question. And then my second question is I want to follow up on Councilman Mahoney's suggestion, which I thought was a really good idea, of allowing people with T-passes to ride from Quincy Center on the commuter rail. Because, and I don't know if you guys looked at what the capacity is when it comes into that station, but I think there are quite a few of us that ride to South Station. And that would potentially take some of those right off of.
So you are correct, there's no plans to have a Yankee shuttle between Wollaston and Quincy Center at this point. What we're suggesting folks do is take local bus service, which runs through the neighborhoods, to get to Quincy Center.
So we did look at reducing the fare on the commuter rail at Quincy Center, but unfortunately we cannot reduce it because of the zoning.
Is there anybody else that has not yet spoken that would like an opportunity?
Yeah, just a quick question. A lot of the people who are at this meeting are also residents of the affected neighborhoods right around the blast zone around the Wollaston T station. A lot of us are really concerned about traffic being rerouted through our neighborhoods. The way software and other software packages will route cars through less traffic areas, which are going to be residential neighborhoods. I noticed that no one's here from the mayor's office or our Ward 5 councilor either. But do you know, John, you're meeting with these people, are talking to them every day. Do you envision that they will actually have a meeting about the neighborhood side issues? That's my question.
So the city, as far as away from Wollaston, is a city issue. The MBTA is focused on our property and making bringing it to a state of good repair. So I can't answer about the surrounding area.
But have they ever mentioned it when you're talking to them?
As far as
I mean, this is going to be the certain street issues which are actually going to affect the traffic of the buses as well.
So we very purposefully kept our buses off of neighborhood streets to avoid possible conflict. We are working with the city to establish the new bus stops, and they've been very cooperative. But other than that, that has been the extent of my, from a bus operations perspective, discussions with the city in terms of traffic.
Okay, we're going to wrap things up and allow Councilor-elect Mahoney one last opportunity for comment.
So I have two quick questions. So you said you have an advisory council that was formed. Who formed the advisory council and who was on it, and where can we find the names of who was on it?
The mayor chose the people.
We asked the elected officials, city council, mayor's office, senator's office, state representative's office, to provide names of folks that would be interested in creating this group that would act as the community's eyes and ears to help and assist with communications internally, externally, with respect to this project.
Do we have a list of those names?
Yes, we can provide you with a list.
So the second question that I have is going to go back to the mitigation. We talked about mitigation, and I would expect our city leaders to be able to mitigate for the people who live in the city of Quincy. I understand it's a cost to the MBTA to allow people to use the commuter rail, but the cost is really to the people here who buy the commuter rail, who buy our T-passes to go in town, and you can't give us any of the answers. You're not working with the city. We can't figure out what the traffic plan is. And the cost would be minimal for the MBTA to allow people to use that commuter rail to get them in town. I realize it's a zone 1A, and it would be about $100 per person, but really if you're getting 50 people off of it for 20 months, it's going to be 50 more people. That's at North Quincy Station. And by the way, if you haven't checked out the traffic, which you should have, because you showed us a little map, this is Nina said, you showed us a little map showing us what time it was. It was 11 o'clock at night. I remember watching it because there was no traffic on your road when you were showing us. That was about back in May or March when we first started talking about this. You should be looking at the traffic now.
Yes.
And the final situation that I have to tell you is that it is going to be like the Hunger Games at North Quincy Station. Somebody is going to get hurt if you do not do this. Between the people that are going to be on the platform, people crossing the street, we do not have a plan for any of that. We don't have traffic initiations planned for how we're going to get those buses down the street. When you're dropping people off over at North Quincy at that time, North Quincy High School is actually going into play too. I'm frightened for the people of the city of Quincy and the commuters of the city of Quincy, both on the street that are walking and the people who are driving. Now, I don't understand how we can be 6 weeks out and that you can tell me that you have no plan that's coming from the city of Quincy and that you have no communication. And it does go back to the ward council, the ward councilor who ran for ward council for Ward 5 brought up that we should have a neighborhood situation too. And that's all of the same thing. Wollaston is a T station that happens to be in a neighborhood, and that neighborhood is going to be impacted by what we're doing to it, what the MBTA is doing to it, and what the city of Quincy is doing. I understand the city of Quincy has to come to play, and you can't control that, but it should be part of your plan to be able to answer the residents if a representative is not here. And if you don't have the answers, you shouldn't be having a meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, this is last comment.
I take issue with that phone number right there. We're talking a lot about transparency tonight, and you want this not to happen within an MBTA vacuum. You want the community involvement. That phone number is going to go nowhere, okay? It's gonna go to a main operator who doesn't know anything about the situation, who might take a number and forward you on to somebody else. Can we change that number to your phone number? I want to change that number to your phone number, because this is your project, and this is all you do, correct? This is your project, this is your only task with the MBTA. So that phone number should go directly to your office, and you people should be answering these questions to the community. Also, these questions that need to get asked to you, that you want to be aware of, we need a vehicle to ask these questions. Give us a website, give us a Facebook page where the community can list these questions and you can address them, and the entire community can see what's going on, so we can have transparency with the issues that are happening in this line.
All right, so here's the answer. If John spent his time answering phone calls, he wouldn't be able to manage and run the project. And we have. That number, 3,200, is MBTA customer service, and they are staffed. They are fully staffed, and they're fully trained about this project. We also have the website.
I'm looking at it, there's nothing about this project.
The website that is online today will have direct access to our outreach consultants, City Point partners, who are responsible for taking your questions, taking your comments, and responding on a rapid basis to any of your concerns. We promise you that if you utilize that website, we will get back to you speedily and make sure you have the proper answer. All of that information gets funneled through the MBTA. They are the vehicle for addressing the questions, following up on a real-time basis, but all of the information will come directly from the MBTA.
Well, they're going to have to ask you, the MBTA.
They are responsible for managing the outreach because we need the support. This is a big project. We know we're going to have a lot of questions. We do this on a regular basis with other major projects. We have consultants that handle outreach in the same fashion that City Point Partners is going to handle this project.
That doesn't make sense to me.
It makes very good sense to us. It's worked very, very well in many, many other projects. Just give it a chance, and I'm sure you won't be let down, okay? With that, I'm going to wrap things up and say thank you for coming out. Thank you for all of your comments.